A small spark can ignite the light and hold it in your heart.
Róisín, thanks a million for taking the time to have a chat with us.
Thanks for having me.
One of the things that I was interested in is, in terms of somebody who comes from a very musical family, what were your first musical memories, if you can think way back to when you were a small child?
Yeah, I suppose it's probably seeing my mum up on stage and seeing her perform. You know, I spent a lot of time backstage at her gigs, and I suppose it was the norm for me to see her up on stage. So from a very young age, you know.
And did you know then, you know, quite early on that was something that you wanted to emulate, that you kind of saw that and wanted to be there, or were you kind of rebelling against it, as a lot of kind of people do against their parents?
No, I found that from a very young age I knew I wanted to be a singer, and it was something I was so passionate about, and I loved just singing for people and you know, seeing people's reaction when you sing. I can't even really remember ever not wanting to sing, to be honest.
And can you recall the first time when you sat down and actually were writing your own stuff, and what form did that take? Was it a lyrical thing? Was it with an instrument? Was it just a melody?
Yeah, I remember being quite young and trying to write songs, but I didn't really pick up an instrument until I was about 16, or maybe a little bit earlier, but I found it quite hard when I was young. I didn't think my writing was good, and it's only really been in the last couple of years that I've really gotten into my writing and tried to move forward with it, because I have learned the guitar and the piano a bit more, so it's easier when you have an instrument in your hand, you know.
Yeah. And what changed that then, if you were kind of doubting yourself initially?
I suppose I knew I wanted to be a singer, and I felt that if I was going to be a singer, I had to write songs.
I don't know what to do when I got you on my mind. I can't wipe it clear and leave it all behind, 'cause I'm thinking of you and I don't know what to do. Don't you know I'm feeling blue? I don't know what to do when you don't get back to me, 'cause I can't reach your mind anyway. If I could.
And what kind of stuff are you drawing from when you sit down to write something musically or lyrically?
I suppose I can only draw from my own experiences in life. You know, I tend to write very personally. If you put a lot of emotion into your own songs from your own emotion in life, then they'll come across better to the people who hear it, you know.
It's the feel of your time.
So what's coming up for you now in the next short while?
Well, I just got back from a tour of America, which was absolutely amazing. I did about, I think it was 11 shows, and I started off in New York and went over to San Francisco and LA. So I'm home now, and I'm straight back into it. I'm going to have a headline gig in Whelan's in October, I think the 18th.
And what about in terms of touring? I mean, how have you found kind of taking those things that seem to be, you know, quite personal or experience-based or event-based, and then kind of bringing them to bunches of people around the place? I mean, have you had any particular amazing touring incident or horror story?
There are definitely a few horror stories, but I tend not to dwell on them. Those are usually the times where the sound wasn't good, or the crowd maybe weren't there to see you, which happens often, like especially for an act like me who's just starting out. But there are times as well, like when, you know, you're on stage and you're singing your own songs and the crowd are just reacting amazingly. It's like, it's the best feeling. It's why you do it. It's just such a good feeling when you get a crowd like that, you know. Really good.
And I mean, how hard is it, you know, to make a living as a musician? I mean, as we all know, it's extremely difficult to make money from selling records. You know, live industry is being squeezed. It's a hard slog, right?
It is really difficult. I wouldn't suggest it to anyone as a career if they're looking to get rich at all. You know, it's very temperamental whether or not you're going to make it or not. You could be the most amazing musician in the world and never be found, or never get your break. Or it could be the opposite. You could not be great, but you get this amazing break and everyone knows you and you have this great career. So you really have to go into it thinking, I'm not doing it for the money, you know. I'm not doing it for the fame. You have to go in it with a head that says, I'm doing it because I love music and I love to sing, and that's the way I think of it. You know, if I could live the rest of my life and be able to sing every other night and that be my living, whether it's to 50 people or 50,000, like, I'd be happy, you know, as long as I can get by.
It would be so very easy